welcome. This is Miss Tabassum. As you know that we have already started with Beverley Naidoo's journey to Joburg. In the previous part, we have seen the two siblings, Naidoo and Tiro, were on a journey to find their mother along with Aunt Grace. Naidoo and Tiro boarded on the train at Soweto in the rush hour. The train was overcrowded and they had no place to sit. So the two children clung on to Aunt Grace so that do not get separated from her. As the train started moving on its way, on each platform more and more passengers entered into the train, and even while they were about to board down from the train, they pushed each other to make a way through the carriage door. At one such station, the two children were being thrown forcefully out onto our platform. The children tried their best to enter the train again, but they could not, as still more people were entering into the train, while the train has already started moving. Grace was also very helpless as she could not come out of the train because she was squeezed in between. The two little children did not know what to do as they were onto an unknown platform and they did not have tickets nor do they have any money. Then they thought that they should go to the bridge over there and stand there so that when Aunt Grace come looking for them, they could easily see her. As they were about to go to the bridge and were walking towards the stairs, they suddenly heard some commotion and noise. As they turned back, they saw policemen in uniform coming and it was a pass raid. People were running here and there. Some people even tried to climb the barbed fence. These two children did not know what to do, so they thought that they would go to the opposite platform. But then they noticed that more policemen were coming from that way. Now let's move on to the remaining part of the story.
Where can we go? Tiro urgently tugged at his sister's hand. As the two children saw more policemen coming on the way where they were, Tiro instantly asked where they could go. "We will have to sleep past them," she whispered, pulling him towards the stairs. Naidoo spoke very softly that they have to sneak through the policemen so that they are not caught by them, and they went towards the stairs. Some people were filling into pockets, others frantically searching through bags. Pass raid. It was a surprise checking for the ticket by the police, and thus some people were frantically searching for the ticket in their pocket, whereas others got busy searching for it in their bags. A man was protesting loudly that he had left his pass at home. It would take only 2 minutes to get it. The police could come and see, or someone could call his child to bring it. He cried out his address once, twice, slap. A man who was caught in the raid protested that he had left his pass at home, and as his home was nearby, it would take only a minute or two to get it. He also added that the police could come along with him and check out the pass, or someone may call his child to bring the pass from home. And As he cried out his address, a police officer slapped him. "Howjo Bek," barked the white officer in charge. His blue eyes stared coldly as a black policeman pushed the man against the wall. This story actually depicts the life of the black African during apartheid in South Africa. The black people were very much discriminated and the whites tortured them and treated them as slaves. So the officer in charge, who belonged to the white race, shouted at him and said to shut up. And the black policeman pressed him against the wall. Houtbek is an African word meaning shut up. One at a time, people were pulled forwards to be checked. When a boy said that he wasn't yet 16, the policeman just yelled that he was a liar and a loafer. Tiro felt his heart freeze, but the boy didn't cry. Instead, his eyes seemed to have fire in them as he was handcuffed. A voice in the crowd shouted, "Shame, locking up children." People were being pulled forward one by one so that their tickets could be inspected. It was a rule that person of or above the age of 16 years should have a pass. But when a boy told that he was not yet 16, the policeman shouted at him, calling him a liar and a loafer. Tiro felt very nervous at the sight. But that boy didn't cry. Instead, he had hatred and anger in his eyes as he was being handcuffed. Someone from the crowd shouted that it was indeed shameful that they were locking up children. As the muttering grew louder, a woman spotted Naledi and Tiro and screamed, "You will say these kids are 16 next." Suddenly, a woman who noticed Naledi and Tiro screamed out of disgust that the police will be saying these small kids to be 16 as earlier they didn't trust the boy's word and handcuffed him. The white officer took a threatening step forwards. He looked murderous. Then, glancing at the children, he made a sign with his hand for them to go through. The white officer proceeded forward with a threatening look and then glanced at Naledi and Tiro and said them to go through as they seemed less than 16 years of age. "We can't stay on the bridge while the police are here," panted Naledi when they had got past. From the bridge, they could see the road outside the railway station. Next to a large van were more police. An old woman was being pushed inside the van. Tiro looked back at the people in handcuffs on the bridge. Naledi said that they could not stay on the bridge while the police were there. And from the bridge, they could see the road outside the railway station where more police were standing next to a large van. An old lady was pushed inside the van. Many people were being caught without pass and were being handcuffed. "Why don't we run and call the child to bring his father's pass? We heard the address, so we can find it." "Let's hurry then," agreed Naledi. Tiro asked Naledi if they could run and call the child to bring his father's pass. As they had heard the address and could easily find it, Naledi agreed and they hurried towards the man's home to inform his son about his father's arrest. Once past the police van, they asked a lady selling apples at the roadside to point out the way. The children weaved in and out of people as they ran along the stony road between rows of grey block houses, all looking exactly alike. No great leafy trees here, only grey smoke settling everywhere. So, as they went past the police van, they asked a lady who was selling apples about the address that the man spoke of. Then the children moved here and there along the stony road, and they could see grey block houses, and they all looked the same. There were no green trees, only grey smoke everywhere. When they reached the right house, they found a boy struggling with a heavy tub. When Naledi and Tiro finally reached the man's house, they saw a boy was trying to move a heavy tub. As soon as he understood their message, he dashed into the house and a minute later came rushing out with a book in his hand. All three raced back down the road. But just as they came in sight of the station, there was the big police van pulling off. The boy shouted at it as it sped past them. Carrying away his father, he flung the pass down, picked up a stone and let it fly at the van. The van swung round the corner, the stone just grazing the mudguard. As soon as Naledi and Tiro conveyed the message that the boy's father was arrested by the police, he ran into the house and came out with a book in his hand. The book was actually the pass book. Naledi, Tiro, and the boy ran down the road. But just as they neared the station, they saw a police van leaving. The boy could see his father and shouted at the van as the van went past through them. The van went away. So the boy became very furious and thus threw the pass down, picked a stone and threw at the van. But the stone just lightly touched the mudguard of the police van as it swung the corner. "I will burn this one day," stormed the boy, picking up his father's pass. "How can our parents put up with it?" There was fury in his voice. Then it became gentler. "Thanks anyway for trying. I must go and tell my mother now." The boy angrily said that he would burn that one day, and he was also furious to know how could their parents tolerate with the discrimination and torture being inflicted upon them by the whites. After that, he calmed himself down and said that he should go and inform his mother then and went away. The children stood silently watching as he walked back home. Naledi and Tiro silently watched the boy as he walked towards his home. Naledi, Tiro, startled, they looked around to find from where the voice was coming. It sounded quite far off. Looking up towards the railway bridge, they saw Grace waving. Quickly, they ran back to the station. Suddenly, Naledi and Tiro heard someone calling out their names. They could guess that the sound was from some far off distance. As they looked up towards the railway bridge, they could see their Aunt Grace waving her hand. Soon, quickly they ran towards her. Grace came down with their tickets to get them through. It was a relief to be with her again. This time I'm really going to hold on to you, she told them, taking each firmly by the hand. Grace came down with the tickets of Naledi and Tiro. The children felt very much relieved on being united with their aunt Grace. Grace then told that she was going to hold their hands firmly so that they did not get separated from her. Do you know what happened to us? Tiro was anxious to tell Grace all. Tiro was very small and thus was eager to tell about the incident that happened with them after they boarded down from the train. Here goes the word meanings. First, frantically, in a quick, disorganized way. Second, pass, a ticket or an official document giving you the permission for something. Third, raid, a surprise search or checking by police. Fourth, Houjoubek, a word in Afrikaans, the official language of South Africa, meaning shut up. Fifth, barked, spoke angrily or shouted. Sixth, loafer, a person who wastes his or her time instead of working. Seventh, handcuffed, with hands held together with metal rings attached to a chain. Eighth, muttering, speaking in a low voice. Ninth, panted, breathed quickly with the mouth open. 10th, pulling off, means leaving or moving away. 11th, grazing, touching and scraping the surface lightly as it passes by. 12th, mudguard, a flap behind a tire of a vehicle that prevents mud or water from splashing. Here are in-text questions. First, where does the children's mother live? Answer, Naledi and Tiro's mother lives and works in Johannesburg. Second, where and with whom does Naledi and Tiro live? Answer, Naledi and Tiro lives with their little sister, their grandmother and their aunt. Third, where was Grace taking Naledi and Tiro? Answer, Grace was taking Naledi and Tiro to meet their mother at the Johannesburg station. Fourth, who was protesting loudly and why? Answer, a man at the station was protesting loudly as the police caught him. The man had actually left his pass at home. Fifth, whom did the children reunite with at the station? Answer, Naledi and Tiro reunited with Aunt Grace at the station.